So he says,
Oh, Peretz, go ahead for me again,
so he
Peretz.
wanted, so he couldn't hear my name, so I gave him my card, Aaron Horowitz. I gave him one of my business cards. Then after the third, fourth inning, he says to this boy, these guys could put away Biyah's Peretz, only 24-ounce cans. That's it. 24-ounce cans. Just from knocking them down, unbelievable. So he says to the boy, "What's your name?" He says, "Meir." He says, "Meir, we're going to get you a ball. We got to get you a ball." Then he says to me, he says, "Aaron, we got to get him a ball. Got to get him a ball." So we tried for 2 innings to get from Marte. It just didn't work out. We almost got it a few times. After the 5th inning, I went to the coach that I know, and I saw him. And I said, "Dave, you got to do me a favor. It's not for me, totally not for me." He said, "One of the firemen promised this ball, promised a small kid, to get him a ball." So he gave me a mamish, a clean ball, perfectly clean. So I go back and I give it to the fireman. He says, "No, you give it to him." I said, "No, you had the idea. You give it to him." So he gave it to him. From that on, mamish for 2. I went to that tailgate party after. For 2 hours, Aaron, Mr. Horowitz, Rabbi Horowitz, you're the nicest person we ever met in our life. They were hugging me. They were kissing me. All guys are firemen, 25 guys, ranging in age from 30 to 70. It was just wild. It was mamish wild. I said to one of the ushers, I'm an honorary fireman. He says, "You don't know, these guys love you." He told me that in the 8th inning. I was using the facilities. I come back, I see the usher. He says, so I tell him, he says, "They love you." It was mamish wild. This is the greatest thing we ever saw. You gave this kid the ball. It's blah, 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 blah.
I guess that's today's mussar.
That's right.
Mamish Kiddush Hashem. Then it turned. So then when we were I was at the tailgate thing. So one of the firemen says to me. So I said, "I have daughters who live in Muncie." He says, "Oh, Muncie, the Jewish Riviera." So I said to him, "Yeah, because you don't let us go into Breezy Point." So one of them almost choked on his beer. He fell off his beach chair. It was like he couldn't.
That's good.
And then the kicker. An hour after I'm home, I get a text message with a picture from my cousin Mitchell. The boy I gave the ball to is his anicle who flew in from Eretz Yisrael yesterday.
Taka?
Yeah, it's a cousin. It's unbelievable.
1 second. Let me patch and paste Akron here because this should be in the next book. Hold on a minute.
It's my cousin's anicle. Mamish, they moved to Eretz Yisrael 2 years ago. I don't know what this kid looks like. And the lady was his machatenista, the bubby. You know, I have no idea who she is. I never saw her.
So how'd they figure out that it was you?
Because she took a picture of me and him and the boy and the fireman.
They were describing one was looking with a long beard with a yarmulke hugging to kiss the fireman. Okay, they put it together.
You mean the jackass with a beard?
Maybe we should raffle off whoever.
Then, also, the last thing. So all the firemen, I'm with them. You know, they had a jar of Utz pretzels. I was able to eat with them. You know, they were. I said, "I can't eat. It's not. You understand? It's not kosher." You know. So they said, "Yeah, we know what you mean." The big fireman, he's bigger than me, and he weighs another 30 pounds more than me. Big Zetzer guy. He was bombed out of his mind. He's wearing a T-shirt that says Brownsville, Brooklyn. I said, why are you two? There was a few guys I'm wearing. And I said, "What do you do?" He said, "That's where the house is where I worked." I said, "Well, I went to high school in Brownsville, Brooklyn." I said, "Yeshiva was on Stone and Pitkin." They said, "What?" That's the firehouse is on Watkins. It's around the corner from Chaim Berlin. That building was with the yeshiva board. We bought it from a bank from 1940 to 60. That they just totally freaked out because 6 or 8 of them still work there.
Amara, they're going to hang a picture of you in that firehouse.
Yeah, it was amazing. I forgot that was mamish.
That's gewaldic. Maybe we should raffle off whoever attends the Daf for the most consecutive nights gets to go to a Met game with you.
I'm telling you,
it's Yaakov, maybe at the beginning of the season.
Mamish Kiddush Hashem. And there was 25 of them. It wasn't 2 of them. There was 25 of them.
And Ramaran, this is how you're feeling, even though they lost. Wow.
I had a good time, parents. What can I tell you? You can't win them all, right? So.
Okay, very good.
It seems like the Yankees could win them all.
Oh,
What'd you say?
a Rami came in there.
It
Yeah,
seems
what
like
did
the
he say?
Yankees have been winning them all.
Actually, we'll tie it into the
They-
top.
not all-
It's like yivama.
If I own 300 buildings in the Bronx, I would also say that.
Byron, it's like yivama. You can't win them all. You get a couple of daf here and there. That's
Exactly.
Speaking of Yevamos, it's time to start the
Okay.
daf.
Okay, I
Right.
think it's time. Now, before that, public service announcement. So Paris is making a vote tomorrow night in Siach Yitzchak. And so I don't
Live
know, do we
share.
want to, I'm saying, do we want to do live or what, or should we do it before like it's called for
Yago, you
7:30?
may have to ask Reb David permission. I don't know if he allows the Daf Yomi be going on in his yeshiva.
Especially on the internet.
Probably have a jammer in there. The Wi-Fi won't work.
It happens to
Not
be in the
true.
basement.
I can WhatsApp Mordechai all the time. Middle of the day.
That's because he thinks you're sending him a donation. Okay, Stokes, take it easy.
It doesn't matter. Apparently, it's not jammed.
It's only his phone that's not jammed. Everybody else's
Right.
phone is jammed.
The links to the fundraisers work just fine.
8:30 live tomorrow.
Is that what we should do, or should we do it before then? Parrots can't come, but
What time, Barrett? What time you want?
All probabilities, I'm not going to be there even if you start at 7:30. Fakir,
Yeah,
I
it's
may
like
have-
half
You need to
hour.
be there to make sure it's recorded.
Exactly.
Okay, so 8:30ish, we'll go. Okay, no, regular time, 8:45, and
Why don't we go upstairs? It's Yaakov.
Whoever's there in person will be there in person. Whoever's not. That's all.
Hey, don't forget about the out of towners.
We're not
I'm saying
giving up on the
we
internet.
were
Why are you not by the?
coming
Why
in.
are you not by the LeVar?
Right.
It's a valid time of it.
You don't have to wait for.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there you go. Okay, let's go. All right.
Wait, sorry, you're going to be on Zoom or you're not going on
Yeah,
Zoom?
of course we're gonna be on
There's
Zoom.
another
Of
Zoom
course.
option.
No, I thought
Yeah.
you said no. Okay.
No, we're not gonna forget the out of towners. We're not forgetting
One
the out
second.
of towners.
Elio, we have to have the Zoom option for parents to be able to listen in.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so let's go. So we're on the bottom of Nun Zayin Beis. Tonight is the last. Tonight's stuff's not so hard, but after tonight, we got a few days of relatively easy. But tomorrow's night stuff, doing it in person, is another daf that's not so. Kids can't be around for tomorrow
I was
night.
about to say it's going to clash doing it in a kid's school. But
Yeah,
okay.
that's yes. Yes. We'll have to get around that. That slight issue. Okay. So anyway, so we're continuing with Nun Zayin Amud Beis on the bottom line. When we had a Machlokes Rav and Shmuel, again, just backing everything up. So in the Mishnah, we had a case where you had a Bas Kohen who got divorced, and then she got engaged to a Kohen. So that means if they're going to go through with the marriage, she becomes a halala. She can no longer eat truma. So you had a Machlokes in the Mishnah there, whether just the engagement, since she's destined to be getting married, whether that engagement makes her passul from eating truma or not. So that's the Machlokes. That was a Machlokes in the Mishnah. Then we wanted to apply it to a p'tzua daka. Then we had that Rav and Shmuel said that what happens if they did Chuppa, which is the second stage of marriage, without doing the first stage of marriage, which doesn't work. According to all shittas, it doesn't work. You need to first get engaged, and then you have to have Chuppa. But here they did Chuppa, right? Meaning a kohen did Chuppa to a grusha, or almana to a kohen gadol, whatever it is. So Rav had said there's still a little bit of kiddushin there to it, and therefore she's going to become passul to eat truma. And Shmuel had said that no, there's nothing to it, and she could eat truma. That was Machlokes Rav and Shmuel. Now Rami Bar Chama on the bottom line disagrees with both Rav and Shmuel. Okay, so again, Rav, there's just another thing to clarify. Rav is saying that both opinions in the Mishnah, because in the Mishnah it's a Machlokes whether they get engaged if she stops eating truma. Rav is saying both opinions in the Mishnah say that if there was Chuppa, it's going to be passul. And Shmuel is saying that both opinions in the Mishnah would say she's not passul from truma with just Chuppa. Now, Rami Bar Chama is going to have a third opinion. Amar Rami Bar Chama, you have bottom line, Nun Zayin Amud Beis. Yesh Chuppa lepsulos, whether there's Chuppa to psulos, again, whether if they just did Chuppa without kiddushin or nesuin, is banu la machlokes from meir elazar Shimon. That brings us into the Machlokes of Reb Meir, who said in the Mishnah when there was just kiddushin that she has to stop eating truma, and Reb Elazar and Reb Shimon, who both said that when they get engaged, she has to. When they get engaged, she does not have to stop eating truma. So we're saying that the chuppah, if they just did chuppah, is the same machlokes on Amud Aleph now. So the Rameir, the Amar kiddushin pasli. So according to Rameir, who says just them getting engaged makes this bas kohen stop eating truma. So chuppah nami pasli. So chuppah also becomes passul. Reb Elazar Reb Shimon, the Amar kiddushin like pasli. According to Reb Elazar Reb Shimon, who say that kiddushin doesn't make her passul, chuppah nami like passul. So chuppah also doesn't make her passul. Okay, so basically, what Rami Bar Chama is saying that the same machlokes by getting engaged, whether it makes her passul to eat truma, is the same as if they got married. Yeah.
Yaakov,
Yeah.
in the case of kiddushin, if they got divorced after this, so they still passul?
No, if they got divorced, it would be
So
fine.
in the case of chuppah, would that be true also? Meaning you didn't do anything. There's nothing. How would you remove this passul according to Reb Meir or whatever? According to
if you hold
according to a mayor, how would you remove this?
I don't. That's a good question because be'etzem it's nothing.
Right.
Be'etzem
So
it's not a.
You can't go ahead and get gerushin like by kiddushin.
I would assume that gerushin should work. I mean, if it works for engagement, it should work for chuppah.
But it's nothing. You didn't do anything. You didn't do anything to begin with. You can't do anything now. So what do you do?
I don't know. I didn't look into that. It's a good question. I'm not sure. How would you get rid of this? I just assumed that a get would get rid of it, but I don't know. I hear. Okay, so the Gemara says, third line down, Umimai, who says that you could compare the chuppah to the kiddushin? Dilma adkan like meir hasam kiddushin to kanila. Kiddushin, at least he's kind to her, right? By kiddushin, according to everybody, kiddushin works. Right? There was no Biyah because they didn't consummate the marriage, but at least they got engaged for what we call engaged. So he was kind to her. So therefore she has to stop eating truma. But like Kiva just said, a chuppah, he's not kind to her. So why should she have to stop eating truma? Chuppah is meaningless without having the first stage. So then maybe Rameir would say that she could still eat truma. Inami, or he say the other way. Adkan like Reb Elazar Reb Shimon Hasam. Where the Rebbe Elazar and Rebbe Shimon say she's allowed to eat the truma, ela b'kiddushin, the loy kriving the biyah. That's by kiddushin because that's not close to having biyah because they still have to have nesuin. Have a chuppah, the kriva the biyah, but chuppah, which normally in a normal scenario is a step before biyah, hachanami the passul. So then maybe they would say that it's passul, meaning even though it's not kind to her, but it is normally the step closest to Biyah. So therefore, maybe elazar and Chama would hold that she has to stop eating truma. So basically, we slug up Rami Bar Chama and we say that the machlokes by kiddushin is not necessarily going to be the same machlokes by chuppah. Okay, so now the Gemara is going to try and find a place where there would be a machlokes tanoim, that another machlokes tanoim that would fit into this machlokes tanoim. If you want to say a machlokes that it's equivalent of a different machlokes, it should be this machlokes, the Tanya. So nisu zu v'zu. If he marries this one and this one, meaning if this kohen, right, married this one and this one. Now what's this one and this one? So the Gemara immediately says ksheros psulas. If he marries ksheros or he marries psulas, that's one. Oisha nichnusu lechuppah, or he went to the chuppah with her, but they never had relations. So then, oichlis mishaloi, va'oichlis betruma. In both cases, she is allowed to. She eats his, meaning he has to feed her. Oichlis mishaloi. She could eat from his food. Va'oichlis betruma, and she could also eat truma. Okay, so now the Gemara asks on this braysa immediately. Nichnasu mechlal. The nisu mamash. If you're saying nichnasu means he actually brought her in, so that means nisu must mean actual nisuin, which means nisuin together with biyah, right? So then, and if it's nisu mamish, so why would she be able to eat truma? It was a passul. She's a halala. She's divorced, right? So why would, meaning you said by psulos, if they got married, they're allowed to eat truma. How could that be? If they actually got married, how could it be? Elazar, it must not be that it means actual marriage. Must be talking about where he brought her into Chuppa, so they had kiddushin, they had Chuppa, but they never had relations. How is
that two different cases?
What do you mean? It's one case.
It's a hockey comment?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's not saying the law.
Yeah, Rashi says that.
One case. Yeah, it's one. Yes, it's one case. I should have pointed it out. Thank you. It's one case now. It's he got married regular, meaning engaged. Let's call it engaged regular. Got married regular. Didn't have Biyah. So Biyah is what makes her passul to eat truma. So the Mishnah is saying that she's allowed to eat truma. So you see, obviously, according to this Tana, they're allowed, as long as there was no Biyah, she's not passul from eating truma. She only becomes passul from eating truma when there's Biyah. So that's like Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon. And Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yochanan and braysa, no, he says kol shebiyasa machilasa chupasa machilasa. If the Biyah makes her assur to eat truma, then chupasa machilasa. Then Chuppa is also gonna allow her to eat truma. Meaning, if it's a bas Yisrael that marries a kohen, so at what point can the bas Yisrael, right? You have a regular bas Yisrael marrying a kohen. At what point can she start eating truma? So we said, really, minat Torah, once they get engaged, she could start eating truma. But they made a gezerah. They're afraid that if she's going to start eating truma, he's going to go send her a food basket for Shabbos, and she's going to share it with her family, and her family's going to be eating truma. So they said she's not allowed to eat truma until they get married, right? So he's saying if the Biyah lets her feeds her truma, then the Chuppa will also feed. And if the Biyah is not going to be able to allow her to eat truma, so the Chuppa is not going to do it, is not going to allow it either. Meaning if she's passul to him. Bottom line is Rabbi Yochanan is saying that it all has to do with Chuppa, right? So even if there's no Biyah, she is assur from truma. So l'chayra Rabbi Yochanan is going like meir. So now we have a different Machlokes Tanoim who seem to say the same as our Machlokes and our Mishnah against against Shimon and Rabbi Elazar. Yeah.
It comes out like the way, according to what the Gemara is learning right now, Rabbi Shimon is saying that a chuppa that doesn't do any kinyan is going to let you go ahead and eat truma. Meaning, if this was a chuppa,
no, this is talking about this is talking about chuppa with kiddushin.
I know, but he's responding to what the Tanakama just said. We're not talking about the case before the Tanakama just brought up. They're being chaylik and chuppa below kiddushin, which is what we just spoke about. That has no kiddushin. It's just chuppa. The Tanakama said chuppa without anything else is not passul. So his response is to that.
I'm not sure what you're saying. He's saying that we
just said the case the Tanakama was talking about is not a real chuppa. It's talking about chuppa below kiddushin.
Talking about chuppa. Talking about chuppa without kiddushin. No, why are you saying that?
Oh, it means real.
We're skipping that case. We're done with that case. We're just looking for a case to compare to kiddushin. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what you're saying. You're saying.
So we're not talking about. So we're not medamit.
No, I'm sorry. No. We're comparing the chuppa. I keep saying the Mishnah case. No, we're comparing the chuppa case to this.
Is nitnasul chuppa the case where they have no? There was no kiddushin, or there was kiddushin?
This case
in the braysa's case. Nitnasul chuppa v'lei nivlu. Is that talking about kiddushin?
No, there was kiddushin, then chuppa.
Oh, so it's not talking about the case originally where there was just chuppa without.
No, but we can come out with the same din, which is that you see it's a machlokes where the chuppa is truma is directly connected to chuppa and not biyah. Right? That's what I think. That's the way I'm understanding it. But in yivama, every time I read the Amud again, I think, oh, maybe I had it wrong the first time. So right now, that's what I'm thinking. I don't know when the next time I'm going to see this is, but that's okay. That's, yeah, fine. Anyway, so now the Gemara slugs it up a different way. So the Gemara says, Mimai, how do you know this? Right? Who says that Chuppa is what it's telling? And no, maybe he holds like Meir. The Amar kiddushin loy ochla. That kiddushin will not feed her. She cannot eat truma. And high kol she'ain, so that right, maybe meaning maybe there's a difference between chuppah and kiddushin. So the Gemara asks, high kol she'ain biyasa machilasa, ain chupasa machilasa. Right, this is what you're saying. If you're saying that, then why do you have to say the terminology of whatever the Biyah feeds her? The Chuppa, I'm sorry, if the Biyah does not allow her to eat truma, then the Chuppa is not going to make her eat truma. It should say Kol shein biyasa machilasa ein kaspa machilasa. It should say her kesef, right? Because what do you do kiddushin with? You do it with kesef. So the terminology should have been different, right? So it can't be that Rabbi Shmuel is going like Meir. Then the Gemara says, no, Dilma Aidi, Damar Tanakama Chuppa, Amr Nami Chuppa. No, maybe he means kiddushin, but the only reason why he mentioned the word Chuppa is because Tanakama said Chuppa, but he's really means even kiddushin, and maybe it is like Meir. So basically, we have no proof who this Machlokes Tanaim goes like or not. Okay, so now that's the end of that sugya. So then we have a different sugya of now we're going to try and prove Rav's shita that Chuppa will make her passul. According to all opinions, if they have Chuppa without the kiddushin, that's going to make her passul to eat truma. So Amar Rav Amram, Hamil so Amar lan Rav Sheshes, Banarinu la'anin mimasnisin. Rav Sheshes said something over, and he made our eyes light up with something from our Mishnah. Yesh Chuppa lepsulas. There is Chuppa to psulas, meaning if they have Chuppa, then she's gonna and she's passul to marry him, even though there was no kiddushin, she can no longer eat truma. But Tanatuna, and our Mishnah proves this. Amen. So now, then we need a little background here. So when a sotah, when a husband suspects the wife of znus, so and she keeps denying it, so you go to the Beis Hamikdash and they give her the drink and the sotah, and they ask her, are you ready to make a shvuah that you didn't do what you did? And she has to say amen. So they ask her a bunch of things. So one of the things the things that they ask was like this: Tuna amen. She says amen. Shaloi satisi, that I wasn't promiscuous. Arusa, not when I was engaged. Unasua, not when I was married. And not shemeres yavam, not when I was waiting for yibum, meaning if her husband died without kids. And knusa, and even knusa, which is even after she became a yavam, right? So meaning the first two are talking about standard marriages. The first two, right? Arusa and Asua, and then shemeres yavam and knusa is talking about for a yavam. So hi Arusa, hey Chidami, what does it mean that she says amen, that she wasn't mezana when they were just engaged? They were talking about where kanila means not purchase here. Here the word kani means from he suspects her, right? So we're talking about where he suspected that she was mezana when they were engaged, and they're also giving her to drink just when they were engaged. Arusa bas mishtayehi. Do we ever give the sotah drink to a woman who is just engaged? But nan arusa v'shemeres yavam loy shaisis v'loy noitis ksuba. Arusa, if he's just chayshed her from when they got engaged, and the shemeres yavam, which is the equivalent of being engaged, they don't drink the mei sotah, but they also don't get their ksuba. Right? Ella. Ella, so that can't be, because we don't give the sotah to drink just from engagement. Ella, the kani la kishi arusa, this tatra. What happened is that he was what do we say? Kani is suspected. He suspected her when she was engaged. This tatra, and she was hidden with another man. The kamashkala kishi nasua, and they didn't give her to drink until they were married. So then that can't be either, because does the water even check her out? The man is clean from avera, right? Meaning if she drinks it and she doesn't get and she didn't mess around, so then he becomes clean me'avain. Now, what does that mean? What did he do wrong? When the man is clean from an avera, then the water will check out his wife to see whether she really did this. But if he's not clean, then it's not going to check her out. So meaning, what we mean by not clean is that if he suspected her when they were engaged, right? And then he got married to her, which means he slept with her be'issur. Right? Once he's chayshid his wife, he's not allowed to be with her. So how did he get married? Right? How did he get married? So the Gemara is saying if he got married and he slept with her, then that water, the sotah is no longer going to check her out. Because once the husband does an assur, which is an assur for him to sleep with her as long as he's chayshid her, then the water is not going to check her out. So that can't be the case either. So again, we're talking about where she's saying amen that she didn't mess around when she was engaged. So that can't be, this whole process can't happen when she's engaged, because we don't do sotah for engaged. We only do sotah after they're married. Okay, so then the Gemara says, okay, so they got engaged. He was chayshid her, and then she got, and then they got married, and then they gave her to drink. That can't be either, because he was not allowed to marry her, right? So since he married her, the water's not going to check her out either. So that can't be the case. So then what is the case? Ella, the kani lo kishi arusa, he was chayshid her when they were engaged. V'istatra, and then she was hidden with a guy. V'nichnasa l'chuppa, and then they went into chuppa. V'loy nivala, but they never had biyah. Right? So again, so they got engaged. They were chayshid her for being promiscuous. Then they got married, but they never had biyah. So Mamela, the husband never actually slept with her be'issur. So that would be the scenario where after she's married, the sotah will check her out. And we hear from this that must be that this chuppa to make her passul, because you see that chuppa is considered marriage. For this, right? The chuppa here is considered marriage. What are you saying?
No, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah,
it's because it doesn't work just for Erison, right?
What I mean, what the sotah?
Yeah,
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Meaning, so the chuppa works. So that's, but the problem with this is that this had kiddushin to it, right? So that's a shaila that the Mefarshim asked. It's this, the Machlokes Rami and Shmuel was where there was no kiddushin, there was just chuppa. Here we're talking about a case where there was chuppa. Where there was kiddushin, right? So who says seemingly it's talking about two different sugyas? Yeah. Okay.
And Siakov, doesn't that start getting involved in, like, if a woman's a nida and you have chuppah, is that considered a chuppah then? According to what we're saying now, every single scenario where a woman, if you have chuppah and she's a nida, that shouldn't be considered. That would be totally in the shaila if chuppah passul or not.
Yes,
because the Gemara is tagging it in. I had
Yes.
assumed that chuppah would work for everyone. It's not. It's only a shaila over here. Where is there any significance to chuppah?
Now it works. It does. There's a machlokes if chuppahs need the works. That was in the Gemara.
No, that's a shaila and ksubis. It's nothing to do with this
it's a
Gemara.
sugi and ksubis. We mentioned that.
It has nothing to do with this. Is that totally in this? But according to the way we're learning it up right now, in mamish is totally in the shaila. If
Could be right.
does
it have to be a
chuppah? I never learned that way in ksubis. There's a separate shaila over there.
Right. No, I know. I think it does tie in. I think 100% it ties into it.
But also, why did the Gemara just say a very simple scenario where you warned her, but you didn't? She wasn't nistor until after nisuin. You warned her when she was in Arusa, but you weren't nistor. But she didn't do anything wrong until after nisuin.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, why don't you say that the whole thing happened by
You nissed her, and then after you already did nisuin, she goes ahead and you warned her you were kinala while she was in Arusa, and she was nisser when she was in nisuin.
Yeah, so I don't know why I think I have in my head.
So what's the shmami no then?
Yeah.
If you learn the case like that, make a taste.
Yeah. I think that you have to have a stira by kiddushin and another kina by nisu kiddushin, and then maybe by nisuin, meaning the two are not connected. But I'm not sure.
What?
I'm not sure about that. I don't know what the svara would be because it's two different stages, maybe, but I'm not sure. Either way, he couldn't get married to her. Once there was.
Why? She's not assur to him if he's just kinala. He warned her.
Yes, he is. She's
also, it's nister or she becomes assur.
Oh, so you want to steer it? How can he be?
She doesn't. You warned her. You already set you set it in motion by Erison, but you didn't. You weren't assur to her. Kolzman, she didn't do anything.
Yeah.
That would be a good nisuin.
I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait for sotah for that. Long ways off. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. So on my Rava, the Tizbara, Rava said, right? Who says you can prove it from this mishna? But from that Rav holds that this mishna holds that Chuppa makes it a connection that she would become passul from truma. But Tizbara, the hamis taratzti is this. Does this braysa even? It uses a lashon of teretz, means is this braysa accurate? This braysa can't be accurate. Why? He came from the south. Also, he came and he brought a braysa in his hands. It says mibaladei ishech. That the woman was with somebody who is not her husband. Again, ishech means your ish, right? So it's meaning the woman was with somebody not her husband. Misha kadma shchivas ba'al labayil. It's only somebody who the husband first slept with her and then she was mizana, or at least chashid that she was mizana. And it can't be that the one she was mizana with, she slept with before she slept with her husband, which is exactly what would happen in this case. So how can it possibly work? Right? Again, we were talking about where she got engaged, then she potentially was mizana with somebody, and then she had chuppa, right? And then she said that she had no biyah. So Rav is saying that braysa, that's what we said the pshat in the braysa. He says that can't work either, because a woman cannot be a sotah unless she was first with her husband and then with the person that she was promiscuous with. It can't be that she was with the person that she was promiscuous first. That doesn't work. So therefore, it must be something wrong with the braysa. So no, it's talking about, you're talking about a lot of real erlich people here. It's talking about where he slept with her in her parents' house, meaning this lady got engaged, slept with her chassan, as we call it, even though they weren't allowed to. Then she went and slept with another guy. Then her husband went and married her for chuppa. That would be the case.
Didn't they do that in Yehuda?
So Yehuda, they were chayshid that. In Yehuda, they were chayshid. Yeah, that's true. Was Yehuda in the south? I don't know. I don't know if it's in there. Okay. So anyway, so the Kavasah, I didn't want to ask. The Kavasah got Shemeres Yavam. What?
Yehuda is by Yerushalayim.
That's, I'm saying, south of Bavel.
It's considered south. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe.
South. Look how big this.
Maybe. Yeah. I hear. So then they're going to ask the Kavasah got Shemeres Yavam Shabola Yavam Beis Shamai, and then you have to say that by Yavam, right? Again, because the other case that she says on main 2 is that if she was a Shemeres Yavam, she was waiting for Yibam, and it must be that she was with the Miyavim without first getting married. So if that's the case, so that's an obvious question on that. On Talmud Beis now, Shemeres Yavam Karisla, that's not called Shemeres Yavam, Ishtem Al Yehi. She's considered regular Isha, right? We learned many times. What is Yibam? The process for Yibam, according to the Torah, is to sleep with her. So she slept with her Yavam before they made a procedure. Okay, and maybe they didn't do it properly, but the bottom line is that she slept with him, so therefore she's a straight wife. The Ha'amar Rav Kana Lakol. Rav said that he's kind of her for everything. So that can't be the case. So Gemara says, no, Kishmuel. This braysa is going with Shmuel's opinion. He's only kind of her for the things that it says in the parsha, al yibam and for the Yerusha. But that's it. So we're saying, so this braysa would be going with the opinion of Shmuel, meaning the same opinion that Shmuel goes with, which is that a yabam is not kind of her, just the Biyah is not kind of her for everything. So Gemara says, Midu time el Rav, but we were trying to prove Rav from this braysa, not Shmuel, right? Midu time el Rav, ha'amar Rav, kana l'chol. Rav says it was kind of everything. Oh, so Gemara answers, ha'chamay askinon k'gan da'ava mamar. If anybody missed mamar, we haven't had it for a couple of weeks now. We're back. Okay, so mamar is where the yavam, before he boil her, which is the yibum, the Rabbanan said that she should do mamar, which is essentially the same thing as kiddushin. So what are we talking about here? He did mamar, Beis Shamai, and we're going according to Beis Shamai, the Amri mamar kind of kinyan gomer. Mamar is kind of kinyan gomer. So since mamar is kind of kinyan gomer, Basil holds it's not a kinyan gomer. But we're going to go with Beis Shamai, who says that it's a kinyan gomer, and therefore this was his proper wife, and therefore they can theoretically, the water from the sotah, if she messed around, would theoretically test her. So the Gemara says, "Ihachi hainu arusa." That's the exact same case as arusa. Right? So why do you need both cases? So the Gemara answers, "Tamech nesuo knusa lav chadam ilsi," is getting married and bringing her in. Isn't that one in the same case? Ella, meaning one is for marriage and one is for yibam. Ella nesua didei knusa dechavre. It's nesua, it's he married her, and the knusa is for his friend, meaning for his brother, because that's talking about yibam. Hachanami arusa didei v'shemeras yavam dechavre. It would be a case where he got engaged, and shemeras yavam is the chavre, meaning he's only marrying her because his friend, meaning his brother, died without kids, so therefore he has to. Meaning the Gemara is saying enochanami, it's the same case. We're just talking about one case. We're talking about marriage, and then the similar case is for yibum. Fine. Okay. Rav Papa Amar. Rav Papa says. Now again, we're trying to explain the mishna and sotah, exactly what would be the case where she would be saying that she did not sleep with somebody when she was engaged. Hi Tana hu the Tanya. It's going according to this Tana holds ein matnin la larusa la shkoisa k'shi arusa. You cannot suspect arusa to give her the drink when she's an arusa. But you are allowed to warn her that she's an arusa when she's an assur. I don't know, Akiva, maybe this is what you were saying. Meaning you're allowed to start the process when she's engaged.
That's exactly what I was saying. So it's
yes, but I thought you were saying. I'm not so sure. When did the stira happen here?
The kinyan, the warning happened by Erison.
Right, but it doesn't say when the stira is. No?
Meaning you could do the kinyan during kiddushin, during Erison.
It's a regular standard case.
You can't do it for the purpose of doing Erison because she's not tachas eshev.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have to say that the braysa is not going with the shita that says that they have to be together before. That's what you have to say also. Fine. Okay, one other pshat. Al yidei gilgul. That means through a gilgul, right? Meaning, really, you can make her make a shvua that after she's married that she was never promiscuous. And once you're making her say a shvua, where after she's married, you can also say, by the way, why don't you already make a shvua that you weren't promiscuous when you were engaged too, right? Meaning, really, you can't. There is no case of doing it engaged, just engaged. But once we're making her make a shvua when they're married, so we're also going to make her do it when she's engaged. Fine. Now we're back to mamar. So Shalach Rab Chanina Mishmei Rab Yochanan. Rab Chanina sent out in the name of Rab Yochanan. Ha'isa mamar b'yavimta. If a guy does mamar to his yivama, this is a big chiddush, this case. Again, you have your standard brother gets married, dies without kids. He has his brother, he does mamar. He does mamar on his yivimdoi, and then there's another brother. Afilu hu kayin, v'hi kayanis, even if he's a kayin, meaning all these boys are kayanim, and she's a bas kayin, she becomes passul min truma. She becomes passul from truma. Again, basically what he's saying is that if you have a case of yibum by kayanim, and there's one brother died, you have another brother who did mamar. If there's a third brother around, she becomes passul and truma. Why? What did anybody do anything wrong? She's a bas kayin also. So he's saying the reason is because what happens if that third, since the second brother did mamar, that really means that she's connected to him. But there is a potential that the third brother can just go sleep with her, in which case it's assur because his brother already did mamar, and then that's going to make her passul from truma. So even though that's a remote possibility, but since that's a possibility, she has to stop eating truma, right? So it's a big chiddush. That's a big chiddush. So when it says, who is this shita going like? Laman. Even the meir, if it's going to the meir who says that just doing kiddushin to a potential assur makes her stop eating truma. Meir mishtameres Biyah passul. Mishtameres Biyah passul. When did we say that a mishtameres Biyah passul, meaning if they're going to get married, it's going to be a Biyah passul because she's divorced and she's marrying a kayin and she can't eat it? That's braysa. But if it was just an assur d'Rabbanan, did we say it? Now here, it's only assur d'Rabbanan for that third brother to do yibam to her, because mamar is only d'Rabbanan kiddushin. So by a braysa din, where it's a grusha potentially marrying a kayin, so there meir says she has to stop eating truma, right? But if here it's only d'Rabbanan, who says meir is going to say that the d'Rabbanan will have the strength to make her stop eating truma before they got married? Obviously, once they get married, that's a braysa. She stops eating truma, but a d'Rabbanan here by mamar, who says meir is going to say that's strong enough to get her not to eat truma? Shimon. So you're going to say it's Rabbi elazar Shimon. Hashta mishtameres lebiyah psula braysa achla d'Rabbanan mibai. If something that's also braysa, right? If the standard they get engaged, a kohen gets engaged to a grusha, and they're going to say that she's still allowed to eat truma because she hasn't been married yet. So here, it's only a d'Rabbanan. Do I need to tell you that she's allowed to eat truma? So therefore, this chiddush can't go not according to Rami, not according to Rabbi elazar Shimon. Elaki also Rabin Amar also b'maimer b'yivimtai divrei hakol ochla. If he does maimer to his yivimtai, everybody holds she can eat. Yesh loy acholo. Let's say she has a brother. Let's say he has a yesh loy acholo. He has a brother, meaning the third brother is actually a cholol, meaning his father was a kohen who married a grusha, and he was born from that. Then divrei hakol einoi chelas. Then everybody says she cannot eat it because lemaisa she could potentially be earmarked for a guy who's a cholol. So again, if it's your standard case of mamar, everybody holds she could still eat truma, right? If it's your case where there's a third brother there who's a cholol, everybody says since that cholol has some sort of connection to her, because he could be a potential miyavim, so therefore they can't eat it. The only machlokes is where he gave her a get. Remember, going back to this, you have a yivama, instead of doing chalitza from the yavam to the yivama, he decides to give her a get, right? Which we said really doesn't work because you need to do chalitza. But the chachamim had to be chayshid that the get works, because otherwise people are going to learn from that and say, "Oh, getting are meaningless," right? So we're talking about where he gave her a get. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Eichlis. Rabbi Yochanan says she could still eat truma, and Reish Lakish Amar Eina Cheles, she can't eat truma. Why? Rabbi Yochanan Amar Eicheles, she could eat truma. Afilu Rameir, even according to Rameir, the Amar Eina Cheles, who says that she can't eat when they're engaged. Hani means she can't eat truma when they're engaged. Hani mishtameres lebiyah passul d'oraisa. That's only where she's waiting for a biyah that's going to make her passul min Torah. Aval d'Rabbanan, achlav the Rabbanan she could eat. So from a get, the get is a d'Rabbanan. Right? She only becomes assur al d'Rabbanan because the get is really not the right thing to do for a yivama. So therefore, it's only the Rabbanan, then it's not going to be a problem. Rav Shalka says, no, she's not allowed to eat truma. Even according to Rav elazar, Rav Shimon, who say that once she's engaged, even when she's engaged to a kohen, this grusha is engaged to a kohen, she's still allowed to eat truma. That's because he theoretically could get married to another woman, a kosher woman, and he could feed her truma. But here, where he can't feed her from someplace else, because he already gave her a get, so therefore it's not gonna work, right? Meaning, because she's waiting. What's she waiting for? She got a get. She's not allowed to get married to this guy. So mamela, there's no way to be matter eating truma ever. So therefore, she would be awesome to eat truma. So why don't we say, yeah, right? Maybe if she can go back to eat truma. There is a case where she can go back. She gets divorced and she goes back home. Right? Again, we're talking about a bas kohen. So what's the din of a bas kohen? She gets divorced. Let's say a bas kohen marries Yisrael. So she stops eating truma. She gets divorced. She goes back home. She could continue eating truma. So maybe this woman, we can look at it like she can eat truma. So it says no chazeres paskamine ukroy. Right, by chazeres, when she goes back, she's totally paskamine. She's separated from him. She goes back to her father's house. But here, she is still connected to this through the yibum. Even though he gave a get, there's still a connection because the get only works with the rabbanon. So therefore, he's not allowed to. There's no way for him to feed truma. So therefore, it's not going to work. Meaning, there's a difference. You can't compare her going back to her father's house and eating truma than to this. Let's just try and get to the mishna. Should we? Or no, you know what? It's because it's all connected. This Gemara is actually connected to the mission after the mission. So we'll stop here. Okay, so tomorrow night, Beis Shamai, we're still calling for regular time, but those that want to do it in person, about 8:45 in Siach Hitler, and otherwise we'll be on Zoom. All right. Good to know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are we doing meir at the Bart?
Otherwise, how are you going to get there?
You can't get rid of him. Can't get rid of him.
Yeah, that's it. I got to keep up.
I've told you,
Tiago,
what I'm going to do without you.
Hello, by the way. I was the biggest winner. You got to turn off the recorder.
What's the